Today's show is brought to you by homebrewsupply.com. Homebrew Supply is your one-stop shop for brew day ingredients, recipes, equipment, and more. Take advantage of everyday low pricing and everyday flat rate shipping only at homebrewsupply.com. Go to homebrewsupply.com right now and use our promo code HHH to get 5% off your order. homebrewsupply.com. Let us help make your brew day better.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Oh, hey there, and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. Handsome James Carlson, as well as the President, Chief Keg Washer. I don't recognize you without your reading glasses on. And are you wearing contacts? Baby blue eyes over there. There he is, old man, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
Good. I was looking at my face here and I'm like, why am I my nose so red? Maybe I should cut down on the beer a little bit. And then I realized, it's because I just came out from outside. It's 100 degrees out there.
It is so hot today.
You picked a good time to leave because all next week's going to be 100 degrees.
I know. Yeah, you're going. Yeah, this is the last episode for Todd for a couple weeks because you're going to the Pacific Northwest where what is the high during the day? Is like 74?
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to get up to 74 one day. I'm really dreading that.
I cannot believe it's going to be 74 degrees.
James, how are you doing?
I'm good. We're nearly done with the CJ3. Just a couple more parts, and Todd will have a Jeep going.
Yeah,
I almost bought a CJ5 today, but the guy just sold it.
You were so funny. Todd will, like, in rational conversation about any topic, it could be business, it can be leisure, the cars, whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm being real smart with my money right now, just waiting for an opportunity. Everything's an opportunity when they call. Like Todd will listen to you and like to be fair, the CJ5 y'all told me was a fantastic price.
$3,500.
Yeah.
Let the listeners decide. It was a running CJ5 from 1974. So.
And I don't have any concept of I drive a minivan and my motorcycle's broke, so I don't know cars. But I do know it's always funny because someone could call you with a business proposition and you always give them an ear. It's what I admire about you, and you've kind of instilled in me over the years when solicitors call and you're like, look, if they're going to give you information for free, give them the 20 minutes. It's not a big deal. Maybe you'll learn something. And it's worked out for me, actually. But like with you, someone will call like, hey, Todd, I got this opportunity. Like, oh, not really. And then an hour later, like, I'm buying another car. Every time.
I would just like to say that I think you have a very cool minivan. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My wife doesn't listen. You don't got to suck up. I'm not going to lie, though. I like the minivan. I like minivans a lot. They're spacious. They get decent gas mileage. It has an entertainment thing, so my kids don't bother me on the car ride. They're preoccupied with Disney movies. It's a real good situation.
I owned minivans when my kids were really small as well. Yeah, they're nice for kids.
They're real nice, and I didn't know that you ever had a minivan. Your kids, you must
two different minivans.
You must have gotten rid of both of them when I started working for you in 2008 because your kids were like the age of my kids, my oldest two right now, and you must have already gotten rid of the minivans because I don't remember. You had a truck, and Liz had a Isuzu Rodeo, I do believe.
Yeah. The Rodeo replaced the last minivan. We had a Ford something, and it wasn't the most reliable vehicle in the world. So
yeah, this one's not bad. But anyway, this is not car talk. This is Homebrew Happy Hour.
I thought we were on car talk. Is this not click and clack?
Yeah, is that even still? Is that still a thing? Is car talk still going? I thought one of them passed.
I think so. Well, I don't know.
one car show that was big on maybe NPR.
God, that was a great show.
What a
Oh, I
good
love
show.
that
You know what? Stop listening to this podcast right now.
Yes.
Go download Car Talk and just and Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, and you can forget we ever existed. You don't need us
Oh, yeah.
in
You're
your
going to be a lot more entertained. I promise you, you're going to be happy.
when you're on your flight to the Pacific Northwest, are you going to be listening to Homebrew Happy Hour, or are you going to be listening to real entertainment?
I'm going to listen to that book you bought for me.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah. You want me to? Yeah, I did. I've been telling Todd for 5 years, like, hey man, read this book. Stop making fun of how I feel on politics and stuff. Just read this book. It's called The Machinery of Freedom by David Friedman. Everyone listening now, don't judge me on it. Look, I have utopian, pie in the sky views on the world. I just keep it to myself. I don't want to infringe on you. I don't want coercive influence over your life. But I did buy the book for Todd. It's the least I could do, and it was only $7. But
You never keep these things to yourself around me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because when we're drinking and smoking cigars, I loosen up a little. Well, I did warn you though, that book, he sounds like the professor, the scientist from The Simpsons. So just it's like an even more whiny version of mine, like, and capitalism is important to the structure. I'm just warning you right now.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful 9 hours. Thank you.
Anything for you. I want to start off the small talk by saying we're going to surprise everyone soon with some glassware for top tier members of our Patreon. And we did the proof. We've been working with the company. They sent the proof back. And it turns out, James, look at that beautiful, I don't know if you can see that artwork on my screen.
Yeah. It's
wrong, though, because I accidentally left out the word beer on that second line. So I'm trying to, it says Homebrew Happy Hour. I wish the thing wasn't so bright in here. A podcast about homebrew and craft. So a little bit of a delay right now on the glassware coming in because I have to send them that. And thankfully, the proofs are digital. So it should be pretty real time. But I'm glad I actually looked at the proof this time, Todd, because most of the time proofs will come in. I'm like, it's probably good because I sent the artwork. So it's, of course.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have given you a hard time over that after about 150 of those things. Yeah.
But yeah, we have been. I was looking forward to just sending them in top tier members recipe kits as they go out, the $35 a month and the $50 a month groups, and have them be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Because we do that every now and then. Like the new shirts that you guys had gotten ordered from you name it, they're in Comanche. We added some to people whose shirt sizes weren't previously available. And people were like, I totally forgot that y'all hadn't sent me a shirt my size yet. Thank you so much. So, things like that we try to do as often as possible, where we throw in more to stuff that goes out to them monthly, just because we genuinely appreciate everyone. Oh, yeah. Wait, no, you're not wearing this shirt.
I don't have one of the shirts on, but that's about how big the logo is.
Yeah.
So when you live in Texas, if you have a guy working for you that buys shirts where the logo takes up this much space in plastic, eventually you have to make the decision to put a small logo on that's comfortable and buy 100% cotton shirt. Y'all are welcome.
Wait, I'm pretty sure because look, this is the shirt I'm wearing is the same style, Nets level. I think it is a cotton, 100%. You just don't like how it fits because you're fat and it shows off every little roll that you have. And since our weight loss competition, we've both gained so much weight that shirt shows everything. Look,
that was all very hurtful.
I'll cut it out. Don't worry. It won't make it to publication. Also on the small talk docket, we do have a great recipes sale and a KED sale going on at KEDconnection.com. There's 20 recipes that Mr. Burns himself curated for 20% off. And now explain it to me, because they're summer brews, but they're all, for the most part, ales, so they can still be brewed and enjoyed in the summer, right? Like in best case scenario, would you have started brewing these in like April, or what would you do with summer beers? What's the rule of thumb?
Not if I live in Texas. I mean, it's still going to be hot for like another 6 months, right? So
good point. You're right.
Yeah, till at least November,
July, August, September, October. Yeah, we got plenty of time. No problem.
Plenty of time. Yeah, so there's some great...
I brewed a beer on, sorry, I cut you off again, but I brewed a beer on, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday. And it's almost ready to go into the secondary. By the time I get back from my trip, it'll be ready. And that was one of those beers, I believe. So
It was
no, that was
no.
a new beer that would be on the list if it was available, because it's definitely a
Yes.
summer beer. It's the Honey Rye Ale.
Yeah, that one, our friend Lorena came up with the recipe, and it's gonna get added to the website very soon. I didn't know if we were waiting for results on it or what, but we're gonna add it soon. It's gonna have a write up from our friend Lorena about that style, because there is that, we've talked about it before, that beer that you love, Local Buzz. They're is from not Community, darn it, Four Corners out of Dallas. Who came up with it? That's one of your go-to beers. I like it.
It's a summer beer.
It is
like
a great summer beer.
A Kolsch to you, except you drink that all year. But you know what I mean.
You know what?
I don't think I've had it. I don't
know if you have either. Todd had
it's
some.
The yellow can with the B on it.
Yeah.
Todd,
awesome.
You want to make fun of me for Kolsch? Admit who sent me a photo recently on Sunday with the caption, "This is perfect after a long, hard day of work."
Dude, I had one. I've had one like every night. I've been sweating and working on stuff outside, and then I'll have one of those Kolsch's. It's that fruit. It's so good to have that first, and then hit my IPAs. So
yeah, it's a good starter. For sure.
And Bob Toots is good on a hot day too.
Yeah, it is.
Do you still have a keg of that at your place, James? Or
it's going really fast.
I
don't expect it to last very long.
I had to cut him off. When was that? Tuesday night.
Yeah.
We were working on the Jeep, and I'm like, I got to remove the tap handle for this one because we got to do a taste test on it when I get back, right? So,
that's so funny. Yeah, Todd does that to me, or he tries to cut me off sometimes. He'll tell me like, "Oh, don't drink so much of this," and then he goes to bed. And then what happens, and then I blame his kids. I'll say, "Oh, it must have been those teenagers coming over and drinking your beer. Oh, they're the worst teenagers, huh?"
They be calling you. They be calling.
James you're spending too much time on Reddit, dude. So yes, recipe and keg sale. Also, our recipes for July for our Patreon members, qualifying members of the $35 tier, and every member of the $50 tier. You get me back your choice for the options. It's between the Fat Tire Clone or the Lemon Drop Pilsner. We've done both. This is one of the few months where we can all say not only have we brewed both, but we've tasted both. I don't think there's a wrong choice. And I don't know.
I think we like both. Yeah.
In fact, I was just telling James today that he can brew any kind of beer he wants tomorrow, but boy, it'd be nice to brew that lemon drop again, because we haven't technically done a taste test on that one, right?
No,
we haven't done a video on it, a recipe recap episode. We haven't, I don't know if we've even done a write-up. I don't know. Is Lemon Drop Pilsner, like, James, you're the one, I believe. No, pardon me, Todd. It was your idea, and then James came up with the recipe, right? I forget how the origin, like, what made you want to do the lemon drop and get James to write a recipe?
Well, there was a lemon drop hop, and I thought,
no, you actually had one at some brewery or because you texted me and said, "This is so good. We need to brew that."
Yeah, and remember Lorena at the show was like, lemon drop hop. I don't know about that. And then she loved it. Remember?
Mm-hmm. She finally tried it.
She wouldn't try it for like 2 days, and then she finally tried it. She's like, "Damn, this is actually really good."
And thankfully, we've already talked about it, but I like bringing it up. Thankfully, she tried it before it went bad, or before the second keg, and she was able to enjoy it before.
Anyway, probably time for the questions.
Yeah. What I do like about Lorena, I remember every homebrew con we'll go drink an ESB, and ESB is infamous for using Fuggles hops.
Fuggles.
And she hates Fuggles so much. She's like, I don't want to drink dirt. Like, earthy taste. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. It's so good. She's like, Fuggles. That's how she was though with Lemon Drop, like at the booth with us, where she was like, Lemon Drop hop and a Pilsner. And because she is very, I won't say snob because that has a negative connotation to it, but she can, she is my go-to for purist thought on, like, hey, what would you, and for all things fermentation, like for kombucha, what would you do here? Or for this style, what would you do here? She is an encyclopedia. She is the Reinheitsgebot, for every style though. She just understands it, and it's very admirable. But yeah, I always remember every time we hang out at HomebrewCon, like, hey, try this ESB. No, she will not do it because of Fuggles. Thank you, Fuggles. Okay, so Like Todd was saying, we do have 3 questions for you on today's show. So let me get started with our first question. Came from our friend Preston, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Preston wrote, "Hi, Josh. I love the podcast and thank you for the weekly content you put out. My question is probably an easy one, but I want to know your thoughts on Irish moss or whirlfloc tabs. Do you use them with every batch, and have you noticed a difference when you choose not to use them? Is there ever a case where you wouldn't use them on purpose? I've never used them, but most people on Homebrew Talk recommended them, and I'm not sure if it's all hype or real results. Keep up the great stuff, Preston." I have to admit, Preston, I've only brewed recipes made for me by either Lorena and Homebrew Supply, like Joe, or mainly 95% of my recipes I've brewed, or the kits I've brewed, have been James's recipes, and they've always used whirlfloc tabs. James, I'm going to start it with you. Is there a specific reason you always include those in your recipe instructions?
Well, it's just a general. Most people kind of expect that. They want to get a little clarity quicker than we normally do. I know Todd and myself don't normally use it, but the reason why is we have cold storage that we can make that clear out. It's, if you're doing an ale at room temp, probably not a bad idea. It'll go clearer quicker. So you're getting all that before you put it in the fermenter anyway. So it's just a preference. I don't use them.
And Todd, you, my friend?
I actually, James, I do use them.
Oh, really? I've never seen you use it when we brew.
Oh, you don't want? I'm slick, man. I'm slick. No, I brew every time I brew here by myself, or I've used them since I started brewing. I don't know. They grab the proteins, is my understanding, right?
Yep,
and then
that's exactly what they do.
Make them heavy and they fall to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because of cold crash and everything, I don't know that I would absolutely have to use them, but I don't. It seems like even if I'm cold crashing and everything, it still makes the beer really clear. I mean, one of the things I actually talked to Joe about this yesterday at Homebrew Supply, that most people put a tablet in a 5-gallon batch, and we had a guy. Sometimes those tablets just kind of fall apart. Well, you can buy it powdered form or in tablet form. It doesn't really matter, but you don't even need a whole tablet for 5 gallons. I think the ratio is about a tablet to 12 gallons. So a lot of people will cut it in half. I mean, I don't know, I hardly ever brew 5 gallon. I think we threw a whole tablet in when we did the video, right, Josh?
You did, correct. You used a whole tablet.
So it doesn't hurt to use a whole tablet. If I'm brewing I brewed about a 17.5 gallon batch on last Friday. And I think I used 2 tablets for the whole batch. So, I think I use it. I think it's, they're super cheap. I mean, why not?
I won't affect taste.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, James, since you have done both, it is, in your opinion, is it just, if you have them, go ahead and do it? Or do you not notice a difference?
Yeah, if you have them, go ahead and use them, of course. I never have them around when I'm brewing, and, we can cold crash it and let it set a while, and it'll clear up pretty quick too. So it's just not something I worry about.
Yeah, for sure. So if for someone like me who right now, like we talked about last episode, I want to brew something with a quick turnaround this weekend to take to the beach with me at the end of the month, assuming I'm going to the beach at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, you and me both.
I know.
God, I hope we are.
But would whirlfloc then would be perfect for my scenario because I'm not going to have a lot of time in cold storage, and it would still help with the clarification, because I get the gist from Preston that he's not quite sure why, and I think the why is that it's for clarification. It's to give, it's to help the nutrients do their job and drop. What's the term?
Yeah. It grabs it and drops it out of suspension into the bottom, and then so you're putting clear wort in the fermenter before you pitch your yeast.
Yes,
so people have used it forever. I mean, Irish moss is literally moss. I mean, it's not synthetic. It's a natural moss. Some Irish guy walks through the forest and picks it out of trees, I think. So.
Yeah. How did that accident happen when they're like, it fell from the tree and they're like, screw it. And then their beer was super clear and like, hey, This is wonderful. I always wonder. There are some dumb thoughts that go through my head every minute of every day, Todd. And sometimes
I know.
sometimes I vocalize them to you, and sometimes I don't. But now I'm going to be real fixated on how did Iris Moss get discovered? Who did that? What was that guy thinking? How drunk was he? Where he's like, throw it in there. Throw it in there. That was
Throw the moss in there.
Just throw the moss in there. I think that was more Scottish than Irish. But so would you say then, Todd, since you are claiming that you use them frequently, is there ever a case where you don't use them, or is the only reason you don't use them is when you don't have them?
The only reason I don't use them is when I forget to use them or I don't have any around. But I always keep them here now. I'm constantly grabbing a bag of them because I'm like, I think I'm out of those. So now I think I have like 3 bags of them here. So yeah.
You can't have too many. You don't have quite as many as of Irish or as whirlfloc tablets as you do as reading glasses, right? Like it's not a 1-to-1 ratio yet.
No.
Sorry, that was a terrible.
We were in the restaurant today having lunch, and the lady walks up with a little plastic bag. Oh, Todd, you left your reading glasses here last time, and James just busts out laughing.
Which one?
Yeah, no kidding. When we went to Ace Hardware there in town, James, he almost left them at the counter, and then we're walking out, and the guy goes, "Sir, would you like your glasses?" And Todd, with not even skipped a beat, was like, I'll get them next time because I'll probably need them.
Just put my name on it and leave them there.
Exactly. I'll need them next time. You get into his car, 30 pair, just on the floor.
I like to leave a pair in every restaurant in town in case I forget a pair.
You have a problem, man. You have such a problem. But yeah, so Preston, I think the overall gist is that they are so affordable, and a lot of the times, if you're brewing recipe kits, they usually come with it. The ones from Homebrew Supply and Cat Connection, I believe most.
No,
of them,
they don't.
Oh, well, the Judah style ones do. Then that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but most recipe kits don't come with them. You have to purchase them separately.
Yeah, they may have an option to where you can add that to the kit, but.
I always take one home, and so I assume, I'm not like a peasant who has to pay for them or anything, unless it's not a recipe I'm giving Todd. Unless it's not a recipe I'm giving Todd some. Don't look at me like that. I pay for them when I'm not brewing stuff for you, but I don't pay much. But I assume because it's in every.
Pay for part of the kit, right?
I pay in
the whirlfloc tabs.
The whirlfloc tabs. Look, man, I buy the 10-pack for 30 cents or whatever it is. No, I do see it in every instruction, so that's why I just assumed, because I do have them pack when they make the recipe kits. They don't even question it. They just throw the whirlfloc tablet in mine because I've always asked for it. And so I assumed one, that's why I came with it. But also the instructions usually call for it. It's highly recommended in every instruction kit I've ever seen from James or from Lorena or from Joe to say like, hey, at 15 minutes, or 45 minutes into your boil, throw that tablet in with your final hop addition if it calls for it at that point or whatever. But anyways, yep. Preston, thank you so much for submitting the question. A great time to stop and remind you all, if we take your question on an episode of Homebrew Happy Hour, we will give you a $25 gift certificate to Mr. Todd Burns. That's a lot of whirlfloc tablets all in one order. A $25 gift card. So anyways, moving on to question number 2, came from our friend Tony R., who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Tony wrote, I am very new to brewing, and I'm very confused by what a yeast starter is or how to make one. You don't have any videos on your YouTube about making yeast starters, so I thought it would be good to ask you here. Could you go over what a yeast starter is and what I will need to make one? Do I need beer first before I can make a starter, or do I only need a pack of yeast from my supply shop? Apologies if you have already answered this. I just found your show on Google. Well, first, welcome, Tony. Thank you for finding us on Google. Todd's raising his hand. First off, though, he came across, he's very accusatory. You don't have any videos on your YouTube about making yeast starters. Todd, we got to make a video on our YouTube about making yeast starters. But you raised your hand. Todd, take it away, my friend.
Thank you. What I always do when I want to do a yeast starter is I say, hey, James, will you make us a yeast starter?
That's what I do for this show.
Totally didn't. I was not expecting that. I was getting ready to listen to a dissertation on yeast starters.
He was so good at making yeast starters. I highly recommend, if you need a yeast starter, you should get James to do it.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple. Really, basically.
Next question.
It's what a yeast starter is if you doubt the viability of especially liquid yeast, you can do a starter. If you get activity, then you know you've got good yeast. And then you're thinking probably why would I do that? Well, look at the date on the pack. So all the yeast manufacturers, go to the website, they'll tell you more information about specifically dates, viability. There's even calculators online where you can put the date in. They start at 100 billion cells, and then the reason why we like Imperial is that they double that. So you're getting at least 200 billion cells. And a lot of times they've got more than that in the pack. So you don't have to worry about a starter with Imperial yeast. But what I do is, especially if we're going to do a big batch of lager requires more cell count because you're fermenting under a colder environment. So it's a little slower fermentation. But if you think about it this way, if you've got over 1050 on gravity's a big difference too. The higher the sugars, the more yeast you need to eat the sugars. Just throw a cup of DME in a liter flask, boil it on the stove, cool it down, add your yeast, put a sanitized foil. I put a piece of foil square over it. And then we have a stir plate. You get them on Amazon. They're fairly cheap. And just let that set for about 24 hours. You'll see it double up. And you should have, like I said, they've got yeast calculators online that'll let you know how much you need to do. But we've got different size flasks. Todd's been really good about getting us the equipment we need to do that. And if we
whatever James needs to start a yeast, I am in for it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
But if you're going to do a big batch, like we've done almost 20-gallon batches of lager, you got to have a lot of yeast. He got this huge Erdemeyer flask. Is it 3,000 or 5,000 liters? Milliliters.
I think it's 5,000 milliliters. I don't quote me on that. It's huge. It must be. Huge. It's huge. Yeah.
So we also got a heated stir plate.
Yeah. And
that helps too. You can keep it just a little warm. And I'm not talking boiling hot because you'll kill the yeast, but you know, it's a bit of a mystery to me when I first started, but there's lots of resources. White Labs has a page about it, Y Yeast, and I don't know if Imperial, because they don't recommend doing starters. That's their whole shtick, is you just pour it and forget about it.
That's my favorite story is when we went to tour Imperial, and I was bringing it up with Tony. We kind of did cover it, but it was almost as short an answer as what Todd just gave us for this episode, where it was like, hey, talking to Owen, and we're there in his office. We just did the tour, and we're all hyped because we're doing the show there in Portland, and Homebrew Con's about to start. I'm like, a listener wanted to know about yeast starters, and he goes, don't use them. Next question.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. Well, I had a listener that, may have been a listener, but somebody actually asked me how to do a yeast starter by email the other day. And I actually was answering the question. I did a little research and realized that a lot of people do it without a stir plate, I guess.
Yeah. You can shake them. You can shake them up. You can do them. You can do them. Just let them set just like it would be wort. That's what you're doing.
A stir plate's great, but if you've never done one before and you want to try, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to do to have more yeast, I guess. So
yeah,
I mean, why not do one? Unless, a real good example would be if you're doing big batches like we do, where we're doing the 17-gallon batch, like you were saying earlier, James. But you don't want to buy 3 or 4 packs of yeast. You just buy one and build it up, and save yourself some money.
And this is also a great reminder that it's always nice to have DME stored. James has been saying that since the beginning of time, or since the beginning I've known James as a brewer. You've always said, like, when I asked you, like, oh, what should a brewer, have in stock all the time? DME is damn near at the top of your list every time, because you're like, it'll come through for you in a pinch. You low on gravity in your brew day, boil down, add this. You want to make a yeast starter? Add a cup of this. And, like DME is so versatile, huh?
It is very versatile, especially if you're going to do a starter, because a cup is not a lot. You can put a cup in like a quart of water and mix it up, boil it. You want to boil it that way it sanitizes it, let it cool down about 70 degrees and pitch your yeast. You can swirl the thing if you don't have every now and then when you walk by, if you've got it on the kitchen counter, just give it a swirl, and 24 hours, it'll double in size.
Do you have a go-to DME that you would say like, hey, for 95% of styles, this is the DME for you? Or is it
just regular, just pale or regular.
A lighter one.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed, but I didn't, I actually lately my dad and I have been doing that strap, but we haven't brewed in a while just because it's so miserably hot. We are wanting to do a brew day now that I brought home that spiked solo system, which is, I'm told, going to be selling pretty soon. It's going to be on the market very soon.
Well, they did a pre-order already and they sold out in just a few minutes.
Right. And I think the actual release is coming up pretty soon, isn't it? I think in the summer maybe is when they're shipping. I'm making stuff up. I'll cut this out. I'm not going to cut it out because I'm lazy, but don't listen to the things I'm saying. My understanding, though, is that they are going to have they did the pre-orders. They sold quick. It is an instrument people want to use, and I'm looking forward to trying it with my dad because the brew day I did with Kenny was such a disaster. I wouldn't even call it a brew day. I would call it we all had fun drinking. Like it was, at least we.
I would call it a brew day. James and I had a very good brew day on our system.
Y'all did have a good brew day. Hey, and you know what? I'm still not against taking that keg that you have and bottling it and trying to sell it to some Austin hipsters as a reserve ale. Like I'm gonna.
So I tried it last night, and it is still evolving. And not in a good way.
Is it still punch you in the face?
I'm pretty sure I'm going to pour it out and
okay.
Switch the tap over to that.
I asked you to pour it out already. And you're like, we're going to do an episode on it. I was like, please don't make me do this. This is torture.
I would love to do an episode, but I don't think I could stand to even taste it.
Todd, it's torture. The thing, like the Kolsch episode is already going to be embarrassing enough. And I'm hoping.
You're right. I should save it.
I've been pushing the Kolsch episode back from us recording it because I'm just praying to God, if he loves me at all, that he will make it taste better because of all the time that's passed in that bottle. I don't know if it's going to work that way, but man, have you not noticed every time I come up there, hey, we should do an episode? Like, no, we have plenty in the bank, Todd. Let's just, we'll wait till we'll wait till the next time. We'll wait till the next time. The next time's coming up, man. Unfortunately, when you get back and I come up there, James, we're doing the Helleweisen episode and the Kolschweisen episode. It's gonna be fun. But anyways, Tony, thank you so much for submitting your question. We got one more for this week's show. It came from our buddy Kevin A, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Kevin wrote, Joshua, I'd like to start by saying I really enjoy the podcast. I'd also like to tell you that we've met at HomebrewCon Minneapolis, and it's a trip hearing your radio voice on the podcast compared to your normal voice in real life. Spoiler, the real voice, my normal voice in real life is just heavier speech impediment. That's the only difference. Anyway, I am writing to ask you about seltzer water in plastic bottles. I don't want to waste a keg on water, but I have plenty of liter bottles I could use. How much pressure can those things take? And have you ever used plastic bottles for seltzer water, or do you only use kegs? Sorry we couldn't meet up again in Nashville. Cheers. I have a funny story about this, Kevin. We had a video. The video files got corrupted, unfortunately, so we have to redo the video. Todd using those carbonation caps that you sell on kegconnection.com. And I believe it was a 1 liter bottle. And Todd, there's a fine line between brave and dumb. Do you remember this evening, Todd, where I was hiding behind
Nothing happened to it.
No, nothing did happen to it. But I was hiding behind a shield because you would put the carbonation cap on this bottle, which I have no idea what they're rated for. And it would make the noise like it was filling up, and you were holding it and you were shaking it by your head like, I don't think it's going to blow up. I think it's okay. And then you'd hold it in front of me like, do you think it's okay? And it was terrifying. Kevin, I have no desire to I use a keg every time. I trust a keg. I have this, keg space when I had the kegerator here. Now I have a little 3-gallon keg that I'm about to put kombucha in. And then I'll switch between kombucha and water as one's brewing. And I have the available, I still need to get the event faucet. I forgot to buy it when I was there last time. So I'm going to buy it and have you guys ship it to me because I'm not going to have a tower. But what I'm getting at is plastic bottles do not interest me for seltzer water, but it is possible because I know, Todd, I'll pass it off to you first. You specifically sell kits for people looking to do it in liter bottles. So besides just the kit, what does he need to look for when choosing a bottle that's appropriate to use?
So just a standard 2 liter bottle that held Coke or it could have held water. It's got to have something that was carbonated. You don't ever want to use one that wasn't made for carbonated. A standard 2 liter bottle. The instructions that we used to have on the old caps that we sold that we don't sell anymore. Now we sell a stainless one. I think they said that they did it between 35 and 40 psi. 2 liter bottle, I think, is rated to fail at about 150 psi. So, if you think about it, yeah, those things are going in and out of grocery stores. They're getting hot. They're getting cold. Remember, when CO2 gets hot, it gets a lot more volatile. So I think that I know it freaked you out, Josh, but I don't think that 35, 40 psi is unreasonable for a 2 liter bottle. If anybody, I don't make the bottles, and I don't guarantee the bottles, and our Lord.
If you think about it, that's what their purpose is. Look at all the seltzer water that's on the shelves in the grocery store, and the carbonated Coke and all the soda.
You're right. And I didn't say it was a rational fear. Okay, Todd, hear me out. It's like flying. I got over that eventually because you forced me onto airplanes year after year after year after year. So maybe I just need to have you shaking a carbonating bottle of water.
Or, you know what the thing to do is to squeeze all the air out and then put it on and have it pop out, wham, against the side. I think I did that day too.
You did. You were trying to make it fail.
Do that over and over again, and then you wouldn't have a fear of it anymore.
Well, and here's the thing,
or you'd be seriously injured. One of the two.
And I do blame, unfortunately, my fear because I wasn't monitoring the video equipment because I was cowering like a child because you were getting off to like, oh, isn't this funny? And it was terrifying. But you always do that. You do that with anything that holds pressure. Even in the beginning with kegs, I've learned to just look, they can be bombs, right? Or CO2 cylinders. And look, don't get me wrong.
Filling CO2 cylinders kind of freaks me out. I filled a bunch of them in my life. When I'm filling a CO2 cylinder, my thought that always passes in my mind is I've got my hands around it and I'm doing this on it and I'm filling it. And I'm like, if this thing blows up, I probably won't know it blew up.
You know what? That's comforting. That's like
like a pipe bomb.
That's literally what you told me about a plane crash, except for the 30 seconds of. But you're like when you hit
that 30 seconds is going to be terrifying, though, my friend.
But that was how Todd would try to comfort me, James. We were in a plane to Germany, and he saw me sweating because I'd never done an international flight, and he was like, "I thought you got over your fear." I was like, "I've never been in a plane for 13 hours or however long it was." He goes, you'll probably be asleep when it happens, is what he told me.
What sleep?
Exactly. I didn't sleep that trip. And then when we landed there, we'd go run errands or whatever. He doesn't sleep either, but Todd's a ball of energy. I was there at that knife shop we went to in Solenge, and I was like falling asleep on my feet, and Todd's like, "Hey man, look alive. Come on." I was scared the whole flight to fall asleep because I was certain we were going to be in a crash. But then again, you would think I would have went to sleep because I don't want to be awake for the plane crash, but I am totally.
I'll tell you what really freaks me out is, and I've never said this before, but flying over water. I just,
they're not going to find you.
Yep.
I watched Lost.
A bugaboo about flying over water.
I watched Lost, and it ended so poorly. I don't want that to happen to me. If it was,
I love that show, but I could not get through the whole thing. I have no idea what happened in the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it either. I just don't understand the fascination with that series.
If it had better writing, I would be okay with flying over water. But because of its poor writing, the fear lives on. But yes, with to get back to Kevin's question, because I totally took us down a rabbit hole from the first trail that got us to the rabbit hole, Todd. We will a bad inside joke again. Yes, it is perfectly safe. In the carbonating caps that you sell, Todd, I believe come with instructions for best practices. Like they let you know, like you said, soda. I mean, when I was doing just seltzer water, soda water, I was carbing and serving at 35 psi from a keg. Now, is there anything that you would recommend it from a bottle, anything extra? Obviously, there's no fermentation going on, so there's no sugar or anything. Would you argue that it is just as easy to carb in a plastic bottle as it is in a keg for water specifically?
Well, two things. One, I don't think it does have instructions anymore. We should probably look at that because we have that stainless one now.
Yep.
So we should probably consider making instructions for it. I'm glad you brought that up, Director of Marketing. And two, Well, I forgot the second question. Oh, making it in a keg versus a bottle. I mean, making it in a bottle is very easy as long as you get the water real cold and then you put it. I usually use about 35 psi. I have a little. What I'll do is I'll have a little bit of space, but take all the air out and then open it slowly so it fills with just CO2, and then shake it vigorously for maybe a minute, and then you can try it. But I think it takes about a minute. It doesn't take very long at all. So it's not difficult.
And those kegging kits those soda kits for the bottle that come with the carbonating cap, a 20-ounce CO2 cylinder, and the necessary connections are so affordable. They start off very affordable, and you may find yourself getting that and then just upgrading to a bigger CO2 tank and the appropriate regulator connection, because they're different connections for a paintball style cylinder versus not RGA. What is that connection called? RGA?
CGA.
I was like, what connection is he talking about?
CGA 13 maybe?
Or I don't know. Todd,
320.
CGA 320. Right. Yeah. So you'd have to have a different regulator. But what I'm saying is a lot of people start off with what they know they need in the immediate, which is like one of those carbonating cap kits. And then, and then over time, though, they realize, like, you know what? I'm drinking 2 liters so fast. It's a waste of my time to just do this every other day. I'd rather do it in 5-gallon increments and only have to do that once a week or whatever. So that's been my experience with customers. What were you going to interrupt me with, Todd?
So I was going to look it up real quick. I'm not here by a computer because I don't want to misquote the price, but you can pick one up around the $100 range, I believe, right?
Yes, especially use our 5% off coupon code would be good for it as well. HHH.
Yeah. So for $100, you could buy this carbonating kit for water. And if you have a spouse that's a little hesitant about the whole kegging thing, it's a great way to get the system in your house, because you can buy it for soda for the kids, whatever, but it still works for beer. So it's not a bad way to.
I like that face. You're so conniving. That smirk, the Todd Burns smirk, like, I know your wife doesn't watch the show. I can't even imagine how many things you've gotten away with. Like the drone you just got.
I crashed it into a tree a few days ago, Josh. You would have been proud of me.
Of course you did, dude. You don't take care of stuff. You don't take care of stuff, which is funny because he actually does. It's just James with that drone. He was all over the place, and I was like, I don't do that with mine. And he was like, well, this is my drone. And he would like nosedive it, and then he was like, it saves itself. And I was like, yeah, it does, until it doesn't. But
yeah, it didn't. It just ran right into the tree. Stupid drone.
Yeah, it was all the drone's fault. Anyways, Kevin, thank you so much for submitting your question, my friend. Guys, that does it for this episode. I didn't realize I was worried in that question. I was like, I don't have the normal timer I usually do because I'm still on this other workstation. I looked. This is like a 40-minute episode. Time flies. That felt like quick. But yeah. I like it. We got a lot of information out there. I appreciate y'all's time. Todd, safest of travels to you and your family. I hope y'all have a fantastic time looking for Sasquatch or whatever you're doing up there. I forget what you're doing in the Pacific North. That lake house, please send photos. I really, if not sharing it with me, put it on your Instagram so I can just steal it from there. I want people to see the house that you got. Your daughters are so spoiled. I want them to know that. They don't listen to this show. Maybe I'll make this the video clip for our Instagram for this episode. That house that you were able to get through, I'm assuming Airbnb or Vrbo, on the lake there, that is ridiculous looking.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. I can't wait. I can't wait to sit on Lake Quinault and have a cold beer and relax.
Oh, God. You're insufferable. But thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all soon.
All right, thanks.
See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, homebrewsupply.com, for supporting us and the homebrewing community. Go to homebrewsupply.com, use our promo code HHH, and you'll get 5% off your order. Some exclusions may apply. Go to homebrewsupply.com for details. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.